Hello student, this is series of adjusting entries. I have already given you one basic introduction of adjusting entries in which I explained. If you will revisit my previous lecture on adjusting entries, uh, in that lecture I covered the concept of adjustment that we need at the end of the year. And secondly, I covered two basic concepts. The one is related to accrual expenses. And the second topic that I covered in that one was depreciation, that how we pass adjusting entry, take in depreciation amount. Today the focus will be on new adjusting entries that will be a continuation of previous lecture. Now look your trial balance, and the trial balance, the second title is showing account receivable amount, which is 20,000. And this amount is indicating that the company is expecting uh, to receive 20,000 receivable from its customers. But being a businessman, every business knows that sometimes it's difficult to get all the amount, and you expect that some amount might prove uncollectible. Since this is related to the sales that we made in this year, so if any amount you are expecting that will not be received should be treated as an expense in this year. Since we are making an estimate, it is possible that we will be able to get the whole 20,000 amount, and it is also possible that some amount will not receive. So if you think that some amount will not be receivable, we call it uncollectible, or student we also call it bad debts. Means amount that you expect not receive in coming year, and this amount will be called uncollectible or bad debts. Just assume that I give you a adjustment in which I say that company estimated, firm estimated that 2% of account receivable might prove uncollectible. If this is the situation given in question, it means that being a student, you will take 2% of account receivable and you will pass an adjusting entry that this amount might prove uncollectible in the coming year. So if I take the 20,000 amount which is given as account receivable, as you can see yourself, this is important that how we are taking the amount, and then multiply it by 2%, it becomes 400. So we will pass one entry, and you can call it bad debts expense debit and allowance for bad debts credit. This is expense, but of course you are not paying for this expense, so you cannot credit uh, cash. Bad debts expense will be part of your income statement, and allowance for bad debts will go in the balance sheet, and it will show reduction from account receivable. That you are expecting that it is possible that 400 of accounts receivable will not be received by this business in the coming year. The second option which is possible, that rather than giving a percentage of this, your question might be like this: firm estimated that bad debts is, let's say, 500. If this kind of amount is straight away given, so this is bit easy as compared to the previous transaction. Take the same debit credit title that you established here and now pass entry by 500. So if you are preparing an entry for bad debts, you need to take care that bad debts expense debit and allowance for bad debts credit. If question is giving a percentage, then this percentage will be applied on account receivable, and whatever amount is coming, you will pass entry by that amount. If in adjustment it is straight away given that bad debts is estimated by this much amount, then the entry is quite simple. Pass the same entry, bad debts expense debit, allowance for bad debts credit by taking debit credit amount. Another very common entry in adjustment that you face many times in your question is related to prepaid. Prepaid or advances that we paid or sometime word unexpired is given in the question. So giving you a condition. Let's see. Right now, trial balance is showing that this business paid rent 6,000 and treated it as prepaid. If question is using these kind of words, prepaid, advances, unexpired, so technically these words show assets. Suppose in adjustment, question is telling you that rent expired by $1,000. So what does it mean? When question is specifically tell you that this much rent has expired, so we need to go to trial balance to make sure that did you pay it earlier? If you said that yeah, I paid it earlier, so naturally there is no issue. So right now if you check your question, prepaid rent is 6,000. So this is the amount that you paid, and you paid it as advance, and you recorded it by an asset. Now at the end of the year, you say that the rent expired by 1,000. It means now the information which is given here as prepaid 6,000 is misleading. We need to adjust it. And how can we make this adjustment? Carefully see. Right now, prepaid is on the debit side, and I want to reduce it. And I say that 1,000 of this amount has expired. So I will make an entry at the end of the year that rent expense is debit by 1,000 and prepaid rent credit by 1,000. Now the question is, why rent expense debit and why prepaid rent credit? So student, remember that when you say that some amount has expired, it means that expense is increasing. So we put expense on the debit side. And when we say that some advances that we paid is now reducing, so prepaid should come on the credit side. So whenever you are facing this kind of situation in which you already have some advances on the debit side, and later on you see your question, your question is telling you that some portion has expired, then student we can make this adjusting entry in which we put expense on the debit side and we put prepaid on the credit side by the amount which is given in the question. I hope this example will give you a complete description of the question, that how we pass this entry by taking uh, expired amount. Third situation, which is sometime is possible in question, is related to accrued service revenue. Accrued services revenue means services rendered to client but not received amount till end of year. It means we have to say that this amount is should be treated as account receivable, because in basic accounting we know that when we rendered our services to client and client did not pay, then we claim it as account receivable. When you have this kind of situation in your question, then in adjustment you can find entry like this. Adjustment will tell you that services rendered to client, say $750, but not yet received. If this kind of entry is given, or question is giving you that accrued service, sorry, accrued service revenue. Both sentences are giving the same concept. There is no difference. The only difference is the term that is used. So student, when this kind of entry is given, it means that question is trying to tell you that this is the amount which is not received by business. So technically speaking, services rendered to client but not received amount till end of the year. So we pass an adjusting entry in which we take account receivable on the debit side and service revenue on the credit side by the amount which is given in the question. Account receivable is debited because we have to collect this amount from customers. And those students who are good in basic accounting, they know that account receivable uh, will come on the debit side when we have to receive amount from client, and services revenue will appear on the credit side when we claim that this is our income and we have to receive it in future. And as you know that receivable has uh, no concern with the revenue. Revenue should come on the credit side whenever you use this term that you have rendered your services. Once you have rendered your services, it means that according to matching principle of accounting, you can claim on this revenue. I hope that these three entries, the one which is related to bad debts, one which is related to prepaid, and one which is related to accrual revenue will be clear. I know this is difficult to sorry to understand all the transactions in one go. So this is much better if you go through the lecture again. When you will repeat it 2-3 times, then you will be quite good. And then I'll, in the coming lecture, I'll give you 2 more concepts, and after that, in that lecture, I'll give you a complete demonstration. But before that lecture, it's much better if you go through the previous slides and recheck all the previous lectures in adjusting entries series 1 and 2. uh, Once you have done all these, then the coming lecture will be quite good for you to understand and practice with me. Up to that time, uh, thank you very much, and hope you will subscribe the channel. And in case if you have any question, you can put it on comments. I'll appreciate that. Thank you very much.